At what point did you say, okay, I'm the CEO and founder of my company. I have, these nutritionists / dietitians working for me. What got you to start creating content for your business?
There's a lot of creators out there that are fear-mongering, but not telling you how to change.
So why in a business that already has scale and you're already successful by all measures of a successful business, why do you now feel that you also have to become a content creator? So I want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Creator Method podcast. Guys, I'm excited about this. We continue to have, amazing guests on the podcast, which up until now have all been Creator Method members. That is going to change. We are in the works to bring on industry experts. We're having great conversations with people, so they will be coming on, so stay tuned. Today's guest is someone who has taken her expertise as a registered dietitian and transformed it into a nationally recognized brand and a large-scale healthcare business. Val Goldberg is the CEO and founder of No Diet Dietitian, a clinic with more than 50 registered dietitians serving thousands of clients across the U.S. through telehealth and in-person counseling. She's built her practice around a powerful message of no guilt, no shame, no diets, just sustainable, science-backed nutrition that helps people change their lives for good. Her journey is a masterclass in how a creator can use content credibility and clear positioning to go beyond personal brand and scale into a company that impacts people at scale. In this conversation, we'll dive into how Val went from one-on-one nutrition coaching to leading a team of specialists across every area of health, how content and messaging fueled her growth, and what lessons creators can learn from her path to become a true CEO. Val, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you for such a nice intro.
It's amazing to me because in doing my research about you, and we met at the Creator Method Summit a few months ago in New York, and in doing my research and having that first conversation with you, I was really taken aback by kind of the scale of your operation. When I go to your website, I saw 54 nutritionists or dietitians. How would you call them?
Okay, so that's a great question, and I think why content can be really difficult for dietitians. We go by dietitians. Technically, we're nutritionists as well.
Right.
But nutritionist is not a protected title. So you can call yourself a nutritionist.
Really?
Yes.
I am a nutritionist.
Anybody can call themselves a nutritionist.
All right. Yeah.
But to be a dietitian, that means you've done residencies, you've been trained on the medical side of things. So we go by dietitians.
Okay. Tell me about there's a couple of things I want to kind of ask about you, and I want to kind of frame the context of this because I want to hear your story and kind of how you came up and how you got to where you are. And to me, it's like a chicken and egg situation. So you are a content creator with, I believe, over 6,000 followers, and you create content specifically about nutrition. But you also have this very large practice, the amount of people that you serve and the amount of nutritionists / dietitians that are on your team. What came first? Were you a creator first, or did you have your business first?
Oh my gosh, no. I feel like creator very second.
Got it.
Primarily, I've been a dietitian, and nutrition literally changed my life. I also love that you see Chad's passion. I feel like knowing that you are in your calling and being able to help people literally change their lives with nutrition has been such an incredible gift. And that's what my hope and dream is of content creating, is there's so much noise out there. People are so confused of what they should be eating, what they should not be eating. People think that this is what works for me, it works for everybody. But there's a lot of science that backs up nutrition. And my hope and dream is to just be able to have a place of evidence-based nutrition that motivates, that's not shaming, because it shouldn't be that hard to be healthy. And it's become you have to do so many things, but that's not really what the research shows. And I think everyone should have a place that they can learn how to fuel their bodies and also heal their relationship with food.
Yeah.
And this is super personal to me as well.
This is super personal to me too, because I've always had a problem with my, quite frankly, my weight, but specifically with my weight, with my body fat. You said something on one of your reels that actually really resonated to me. And you called it the term was a non-scale win, where you're not measuring your success by the numbers on the scale, which I believe a lot of people are fixated on, right?
Hyper-fixated. It changes their day. It ruins their life, you know?
People who are I lost a pound today. But the thing is to your point, and I saw what you were talking about in the reel, is that you can, if you're weight training, you can gain mass in terms of lean muscle, and then you can potentially lose fat. And you might even be heavier on the scale, but to your point in the video that I watched is that your body will look and you will feel very, very different. So when you talk about that, really resonated with me, that whole non-scale win.
Yeah.
So how did the passion for nutrition come up, and then how did it become a business for you?
Okay, that's a great question. So I actually was adamant that I was not going to become a dietitian, like straight up. I was like, I'm going to become a doctor. I didn't have any role models of dietitians that were doing cool things. Like what I thought dietitian, I thought about like the food pyramid, and it's cringe that people still associate dietitians with the food pyramid because we do so much more than that. But I really struggled with my weight and my relationship with food. I struggled with disordered eating that like it takes over your life. Like really hating your body, not liking yourself holds you back in every single area of your life.
Absolutely.
And I actually think that to put yourself out there as a content creator, you have to like yourself enough to do that, right? You have to like yourself and be okay with yourself enough to edit the videos or put yourself out there for criticism. And I think it is so impactful. It's so cool. Like when we do the Creator Method meetups, like people really actually like themselves there.
Yeah.
And most people that we work with come in and weight is their primary focus or their health is their primary focus, but they're not doing it in a proactive way. They're doing it in this like scarcity mindset, fear-based way. But I know what it's like to be there, struggle with my weight. And it becomes all that you can think about. It becomes all that you can obsess about.
Yeah.
And when we think about like Maslow, I'm super nerdy, so I'd like to go to the science, but
yeah, please.
Have you heard of Maslow hierarchy of needs?
No.
Okay, cool. It's like a psychological term that basically it's this triangle, and the bottom of it is like your basic needs need to be met. And the idea is if you have basic needs and then you have your security needs and you can have love and belonging, you can lead to the highest level of yourself, which is self-actualization. But unless the foundational needs, sleep, shelter, reproduction, food, water, unless those needs, people that don't have food, water, shelter can't meet their highest needs, lead to self-actualization, right? It's impossible. So oftentimes people think about nutrition as not a basic need, but it is.
Absolutely. To me, sorry, I just want to, because I'm really resonating with this because to me, it's my final frontier. I would just love to get your advice,
Sure.
in the sense that for me, I'm a consumer of life. Like I consume life and I
love that.
And I'm always hungry for more life. Right? Like I waited to get married until I waited to get married, but I didn't settle. And I got married later in life when I was,
How old were you?
I was 39. It's not really later. I think it's kind of normal for men, but I was 39 years old because I wanted an amazing partner and I didn't settle for, anything before that. And then in business, I wanted an amazing business and I wanted to scale and do something meaningful. So all of these things. So as somebody who is like a consumer of life, it also translates to I'm a consumer of food. And so when I go out and I put, if you put a steak in front of me, I'll eat my steak and then I'll eat somebody else's steak. And I just want more and more because it's like I'm inhaling life. And so
I think that you want high value life and you're willing to actually do the work that other people aren't willing to do and wait, because it's so much easier to just get that quick win. Not to build this like incredible practice, but to have a practice that's good enough, right? So I actually think if we can shift your mentality about like, I think we all should be consumers of life. I think we should be able to go on vacation and go to Paris and enjoy like the real deal croissant, but does that also need to come with volume or does that need to come with guilt or shame? Because like when you're spending and you're spending on value, there's no shame that comes along with that, right? You're investing.
Sure.
So I think sometimes it's more of a mentality shift and then a behavioral shift, but 100%, like your hunger for life should also be a hunger for all life. Like I want to live my longest, I want to live my healthiest, I want to live my most fulfilled.
Right. However, it's almost like a contradiction for me because I want all of these things. And then when good food is put in front of me, I want to consume it.
Okay.
So and so for me to actually throttle that, to be having like this beautiful steak in front of me, even though I know like let's assume a steak is not a processed food and it's actually reasonably healthy to consume a steak, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, or fish or whatever it may be. But for me, even though I know that this food is quote unquote good, if I eat too much of it, it's bad because then I'm taking in more calories, I'll retain more body fat. It's almost like counterintuitive to the way I function, where it's like, we were talking before about scaling business, right? I want to scale it faster. I want to do it bigger. So I feel like my appetite for scaling a business, I don't have to hold back on doing more, but I'm constantly have to hold back on, when it comes to portion control. So how do I reconcile this?
So many things
because again, my mentality is that I want more and better and more and better. And so when food enters the picture, it's like, okay, let's do it. Let's eat all of this stuff. So that's what I'm having trouble with,
Yes. And what you described is like multiple points that I want to break down.
Sure.
The first thing is when we think of something as good or bad in that binary as it relates to food,
Yeah.
like a piece of cake is not good or bad. Like if you're having a
delicious,
birthday,
though.
it's delicious for sure. Good cake, absolutely. But if you're going to a birthday and there's no birthday cake, I would argue that's disordered. But also eating an entire cake is going to make you feel really, really bad. Like you're going to feel like garbage.
Yeah.
So it's about that balance. But the more we say these foods are actually bad and I shouldn't have them and I should restrict, this is where it's wild. And I think this is the psychological piece that people are oftentimes missing. They did an incredible study where they gave people 2 milkshakes, okay? One of them, they said this was what they call like the indulgent shake. It's like 680 calories. They said it was a high calorie milkshake.
Yeah.
The other milkshake, they said this is what we call like a hot, new exciting protein shake. What they then measured their blood ghrelin levels. That's our primary hunger hormone. And the people that had the indulgent shake, it was the same shake, right? The people that thought this was indulgent had less biological ghrelin, so less biological hunger than the people that thought this was a good for you protein shake. So we're messing up our hunger and fullness and our satiety cues. People are always talking about GLP-1s, so the weight loss injectables. But I think this is a conversation about how.
Was that you're talking about? Like, what's it called? Ozempic.
Wegovy.
Yeah.
But what that is, it's a peptide. It's that we can produce in our body as well. But we know that it has so much tremendous effects on how our body metabolizes foods and weight as well. But there are other hormones in our body, ghrelin, leptin, cholecystine kinase, that actually can be, it's like a psychosocial, like it's all of it. So you saying, I'm going to overeat, or the question I always have for people is, what did you eat leading up to it? If you're going to go to a steakhouse and you're like, I'm going to devour the steak, I'm going to eat everybody's seconds, you're actually priming yourself to probably undereat during the daytime because you're going to overeat the calories. And what that does is it shifts your whole metabolism into this fed versus famine state. So if you're underfed during the daytime, the number one reason why people binge eat is because they restrict. So restriction can either be coming from physical restriction or it can be coming from mental restriction. This is the last time I'm going to the restaurant, the last time I'm ordering steak, tomorrow I'll be good, I'm gonna be on my diet, like all these things, all the rhetoric that we tell ourselves, which is all maladaptive. Like it's also like not true. It's not gonna be the last time you're having a steak, but it's a story that we tell ourselves, and that story actually changes how your body can actually digest that food. It's wild.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. How did your passion for nutrition become a business? Like, how did you make that shift? And then I'd like to find out how it shifted into content creation.
That's a great question. So I decided I was going to become a dietitian. Actually, let's go back to the origin story. So I struggled with my weight, I struggled with my health, and then I was 19 years old and I was diagnosed with prediabetes and PCOS.
Right.
And
what's PCOS?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a condition that happens to many, many women where they have insulin resistance. They oftentimes have the symptoms of having facial hair, struggling with their weight, and it can lead to fertility issues as well.
Wow.
And we see this all the time, and nutrition kind of is the only thing that you can do to really jump you into lifestyle change. Yes, there's some medications, but we need to be focusing on gut health. We have to be focusing on blood sugar balance. We have to be focusing on your relationship with food. And most people that have PCOS also struggle with eating disorders or disordered eating. So I was like in the thick of it. I was like, I don't want to be a fraud and become a dietitian and be like, you know how they say like your pain becomes your passion? I was like, I'm good at a lot of different things. This is my number one thing that I'm struggling with. And when you struggle with your weight, everybody knows. You can't hide it. It's not like anxiety or depression that you can put on a good mask. You can't hide. And I think that's one of the hardest things about weight in general. And I was reading, I went the pre-med track. I volunteered on ambulances for summers. I worked with children with autism. And I was reading the textbook for an anatomy and physiology exam. And it was the night before the exam, and there's so much you can learn in anatomy and physiology. You're never done studying, no matter how brilliant you are. And I started reading the chapter in the textbook on nutrition that was not on the exam the next day. And I was like, I'm fighting everybody. This is my calling, this is my passion, and I decided to become a dietitian. So I worked in hospitals for a few years to like build that clinical skill set.
Wow.
I worked in GI surgery, so I rounded with a GI surgery
So
team.
what is your like academic?
Registered dietitian nutritionist.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I went to McGill University. It was a great school. And then I moved to New York City, where I worked at Mount Sinai Hospital, and they have these incredible GI surgery teams. And like I was rounding on it. It was in Gen Med, so like the dietitians are clinically trained on labs. Like people are always like, wait, are you sure you're not a doctor? And I was like, I'm sure this is what dietitians do. We look at their lab panels. We want to be making sure that people can nourish their body and use food to fuel their bodies. And then we moved to Vermont, and I worked in the hospital there. And there was a pivotal story in my life. Okay.
Tell me.
I was like young and spicy, and I'm still passionate, but like I was like, oh my gosh.
I think you're still young and spicy, but
okay, thank you.
Yes.
But I was like, oh my gosh, gosh, I had a patient, I got a call for cancer cachexia. And that's a time when they have cancer, they get really wasted away, and you actually can't continue chemotherapy treatment if you're severely malnourished. And I was like, I got this. So I show up to the patient's room and I'm like, hi, I'm Val, I'm your dietitian. Let's talk about ways we can optimize your nutrition to get you malnourished. And I start giving him suggestions. And I'm like, oh, like we can add avocados, they have healthy fats. And then he was like, what? And I was like, avocado? Maybe it's my Canadian showing that I don't know how to say avocado in this country. And he's like, I don't know what that is. So I'm starting to describe what an avocado is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to take it. It's like a peach, but you cut it out. And I was like, I asked him, I was like, he's like, you can put it on your pizza? And I was like, you could put it on your pizza, but usually you put it in a sandwich or a salad. And then I was like, excuse me, sir, what do you eat? He looks at me dead center and he goes, squirrel. And I was like,
sorry, squirrel? Mm-hmm. Like the animal?
Mm-hmm. That was my initial thoughts. And now I need to know all the details. How do you get such squirrels? And I was like, what am I doing? Someone that literally hunts their own squirrels. I'm giving them nutrition advice to buy and eat avocados. I was like, I'm on a different planet. I was like, I don't know where I came from.
This was a guy in Vermont?
Yes.
Did he just came out of the forest?
Yes.
How did he hunt these squirrels? I'm just curious. Did he have a gun and he shot the squirrels and then he grilled them up? Squirrels?
Yes.
All right.
100%. This is a pivotal moment. And I'm telling someone that hunts their own squirrels in rural Vermont to go to Trader Joe's and buy avocados to add it. And I know that I'm out to lunch. You have to meet people where they are. I'm not.
Sorry, I'm just curious. What's your professional opinion on eating squirrels?
No, don't do it. It's a rodent. We don't eat rodents.
So no rodents.
Yeah, no rodents.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good for me. I don't eat rodents now, but in case I ever considered it, I always say no. You know, like people eat rabbits sometimes.
Yes.
I always say that's a rodent. You shouldn't eat a rabbit.
I don't think rabbits are rodents, but that's not necessarily in my area of genius. But it's definitely not a rodent.
Well, either way, I wouldn't eat a rabbit.
Okay, fine.
I'll eat a chicken.
Squirrels are the same as rats. We don't eat rats or squirrels. Okay.
All right. I guess this was a lifestyle thing for this gentleman, but okay.
So no, it was a pivotal moment for me, being like, I'm giving advice to someone that can't actually take this advice. And oftentimes in hospitals, that's not the time. People just want to go home. They don't want to be talked about. That's not the place for healing. It's a place of stabilization, medical stabilization. Yes. So I was like, I love the relationship. I love, like you talked about with your vulnerabilities. I want to see someone through from changing, from coming in and not feeling good about themselves or their body, to having a plan that they feel so confident about that when they're scrolling on social media and they hear this junk, that they completely can tune it out because they know what works for themselves, they know what works for their bodies, and they don't even there's no questions. Like, if you are so secure, people that are secure in the relationships, maybe they're curious about relationship advice, but most of the time that's not on their algorithms. They don't really care. That's how I want people to feel about their nutrition, that they're like, I know what works for me so well, mentally, physically, emotionally, that helps me.
Sorry, was that the turning point for you with the squirrel guy, where you understood that there's a big disconnect and that this is kind of your calling?
I knew it was my calling. I knew that I needed more of a relationship and to meet people where they were so I can really help them achieve the goals that they deserve. I
like that, to meet people where they are. I think I'm already asking myself, how can I apply that to, meeting people where they are in a professional kind of sense, into what, what we're doing. And I'm already planning on how I'm going to go back to our team and talk about that for everything that we do. But that's brilliant. So at what point did you understand that this is a business? Like, at what point did you break away from the hospital that you were working at to say, okay, I'm going to start my own practice? Or like,
here's the real benefit about working as a hospital dietitian. You get paid so little that there's not that much risk. And I mean
fair.
That, okay?
Yeah, fair.
When you were paid so little, and I had my husband as this epic supporter. We had a rule in our house. This was one incident that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But there were so many incidences that people they weren't in the place to receive the information, that I would go into people's rooms and they'd be like, oh, dietary's here again. She's the one that took away my salt. And I was like, I want to help you. I want to help you heal. That's my passion. And we had a rule in our house that you're allowed to ask me about my workouts. You can ask me about anything else, but you cannot ask me about my work, because it was really not fulfilling for me. And I had a plan. I was like, if this doesn't work out, this whole private practice thing, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go back to school to be a PA. We had our whole plan. And it was really Chad that pushed me. He's like, Val, this is your calling. This is what you're passionate about. You need to give this a real go. And I do think having someone that is in your corner, that sees you that like, they're like, you are so gifted, you are so talented. I think we need these people when we're feeling that self-doubt and that insecurities. And I think that's a huge benefit of Creator Method. You're gonna have hard days when you put yourself out there to the internet, to a bunch of strangers, and having a community of people that are like, yeah, I'm in the suck with you and it will get better. And then you can see people's wins. Like that is the community that you have built.
Thank you.
Really I think one of the biggest parts of it.
Well, I like to think so too. I think it's definitely, it's definitely the community. It's interesting because with dentists and with lawyers and with, all kinds of, professions, there's kind of professional associations where people don't work in a silo, but content creators, I think up until Creator Method really haven't, where they don't have that almost like, that group of people who are on the same mission, but every other profession in the world has it. Like literally like carpenters have it. There's like a carpenter association, 100%. But there's no like, creator, I feel group. So yeah, we're definitely doing that. In terms of your practice, at what point did you say, okay, I'm the CEO and founder of my company. I have, these nutritionists / dietitians working for me. What got you to start creating content for your business?
I had an opportunity to be the face of the local news dietitian. And I was like, oh my goodness, my mission is to be able to be bigger than myself. People are struggling. 1 in 2 people are struggling with their weight visibly. People are struggling. Everybody needs help with their nutrition. Yeah. And everyone also thinks that like nutrition is so simple. It's eat less, move more. It's this reductive statement. And there's so much more than that. And I think that people are willing to see a therapist and work on their mental health. But the idea of working and engaging with a healthcare provider like a dietitian still feels taboo. And even though, and our insurance tells us, go work with a dietitian, go work on your relationship with food. Nutrition's literally covered under the Affordable Care Act with no copay, no deductible.
I saw that on your website that you accept like actual insurance, medical insurance,
yes, for healthcare providers.
I know, but that's wild. But like so many people, and I'm not trying to pitch your business, but at the same time, it's like you can actually get your service that's covered by your medical insurance because the insurance companies understand how important nutrition is.
Exactly.
So that's a testament to like the importance overall of what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. But then there was such a disconnect between people thinking like, oh, I don't want to go to the food police. I'm going to see a dietitian. I know she's going to tell me. She's going to tell me not to eat the cookie. And it's so much more than that. I want to understand like, why do we need to eat the second steak? Why can't you be satiated? What are we missing? What are the deficiencies? And how can we make you actually fuel yourself in a way that really works for you and your body? But then, so I was on the news. It's actually the local news oftentimes because I live in Vermont. Yeah. You would see all these newscasters being like, they would be there for 6 months and they would go to like NBC, like they would go to bigger, they would be moving to Chicago, they'd be moving to all different places. Yeah. And that was my first foray into content creation, was really just doing news because my mission was to help people, and it still is, to help people at scale know that you are not alone, you are not broken, and just because you feel like you've tried everything, if you haven't worked with a professional, you haven't tried everything. You've tried every quick fix. You've maybe tried every diet, and I've been there. I've tried every diet. I've tried every quick fix. They don't work. They work for a short period of time, and then they make you feel like you're the problem, like you're broken.
No, for sure.
Versus like figuring out the system that's going to work biologically for your needs. Look at your labs. Look at your genetics. Look at your values, and build it from the ground up with using therapeutic modalities like ACT therapy, CBT therapy. Like,
gotcha.
So that's where it started.
But sorry, you were about to tell me how you saw the opportunity or the need to become a content creator within operating your business.
So it wasn't out of need. It was more out of it wasn't out of operations wise. We really partnered up with doctors' offices, and a lot of our patients were word of mouth, right?
So your kind of top of funnel business, journey, like where your customers got their, like your client journey, you already had that. So you already had those people coming in. Yeah. Okay. So then what made you, so I kind of go by the thesis that all business owners need to be content creators.
Okay, I need you to speak to this for a second because I love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, no, but I truly believe in it, because what's happening is that you are competing, like everyone is competing now. Everybody in business is competing, and you're competing with people who they have a personal brand and that they're fueling their business with that personal brand, right? So now what we're seeing more and more of a shift is like established businesses going back and saying to the founder, listen, like you need to actually become the face of this business. Like Elon Musk is a perfect example of this, right? Like he at one point decided like, I'm going to have to be the face of these companies. Like he understood, and he continues to understand. And so he's got a massive social media presence. He can literally take his personal brand and transfer that into any other business that he wants.
It opens up opportunities.
So once you have a sufficient amount of scale as your personal brand, like today you could be doing this business, but any additional business that you want to do where you want to lend your personal brand to, it's like an instant, you can do it instantly. Like Creator Method is a great example of it. Like if we would have started Creator Method without Valeria and her social media and her reach and her personal brand, then how would we get scale initially?
And I also think it's more than that, because when you have that, you already have the person that knows you. And like, then you get to have
course.
your dream, like people on the Creator Method are your dream participants,
No, for
because
sure.
they know you, they resonate, and
Of course. But that's the reason I believe that people should have a personal brand in general, because you're now competing with, everybody across the board who understand that that they're developing their personal brand simultaneously. We have a lot of people, a lot of business owners and CEOs, people who are, venture backed, people who mom and pops, it doesn't really matter. People are now understanding that they have to do this. And you'll see that there are dentists who have, who are developing their personal brands. And we talked about that before, but for yourself, I'm trying to understand, so you started this. Why did you start this? Like it seems to me like your nutrition business was doing well. It continues to do well. You had a sufficient amount of new customers coming in on a regular basis.
Like 5,000 patients appointments per month.
Okay.
So, yeah,
right.
And growing.
Right. I mean, it's a large scale business. So right now I can see by the amount of content that you put out that you're putting effort into it. And the fact that you're a member of Creator Method, you're seeing the need to do this. So why, in a business that already has scale and you're already successful by all measures of a successful business, why do you now feel that you also have to become a content creator?
So one of my ideas of having a successful business is, I have a hard word with this. My team is like, Val, you're a visionary. I'm like, okay, we need the ops to work in the business so that I can take a step back.
Of course.
And I do agree with you that like the next level to being able to change the world. Like, let's say if we say that I want to be able to, I think nutrition is done so poorly. And I do think that with a lot of policies right now, nutrition is actually getting worse.
Okay.
We're focusing
So you want to be the voice of that?
I would love to be
that change.
I would love to be one of the people that people look to in the arena that are like, okay, what is the science actually showing us? Because I don't believe that if you're making, you would say people like minor in the macros, like if you're focusing on if someone's binge eating and then they're restricting all day long and they're not having food diets and they're only eating organic and they're over consuming energy and food at nighttime, their health is going to plummet because that increases insulin resistance, that increases cardiovascular disease. So if you have something that we call orthorexia, so you care so deeply about every single morsel of food or type of quality of food, but then you also struggle with a binge eating disorder, which I see all the time, by the way, and so much shame in your food, you hyper focusing on these little things that your body can metabolize and detoxify pretty quickly is actually holding you back from optimizing your health. But I think online there's so much clickbaity stuff of don't do this. I saw this quote I thought was really interesting. A lot of these big content creators tell you don't buy this food, don't buy this food. And someone said it's much easier to shop for your family when you have a grocery list of foods that you actually can buy. Mm-hmm. But we have so much fear-mongering, and the psychology of it is that if there was rustling in the bushes over here and I did nothing, if there was a bear, I would die.
Sure.
So it's better for us to be really tuned into fear. And that's why a lot of social media algorithms do have a lot of news on it and bad news, because we pay attention to it because we're biologically programmed to pay attention to it. So there's a lot of creators out there that are fear-mongering, but not telling you how to change and not telling you that it's possible for you to live in alignment and help better yourself. And yeah, you can still have a cookie and live a healthy, balanced life. It's all this all or nothing. And what I want to do is have a voice of reason, the evidence, and actually help people in a way that teaches them and informs them. And from there, being able to, I think of it as a platform that can give you infinite growth and infinite potential.
You're right. So it's less of a for you, it's less of a business function. It sounds to me like it's more of a passion, like being a content.
Not yet. You know what I mean? I don't think I've had enough reps in, and I'm happy to hear you this right now. Right now, I think of it as, I think for any doctor, any dentist, and you might have a different opinion, I think creating content is harder than it looks. It takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes time management, I
don't think it's, sorry, I just want to jump in. I apologize. I don't think it's harder than it looks. I think it's not a skill set that you've acquired yet.
I'll take it.
Right? Just like if you asked me to do what you do, it's hard. It would be very difficult for me. But if I had your training and your background, and if I actually put that effort and passion into it, then it wouldn't, it's second nature to you. You can sit down right now with a person and you can look at the data on this person and you can kind of guide them and set them in the right direction. I think probably fairly efficiently, right? Right. For me, that would be very difficult. So It's the same with content creation.
But I also think that sometimes you get this dopamine hit and it feels so good. And then sometimes you put your heart and soul into a piece of content and nobody cares. Like you have to be able to ride the roller coaster, which is an advanced skill.
Of course. I know, but that's more of an emotional thing. That's more of a, and
I think you're amazing at that.
Well,
of, like,
thank you. No,
navigating
I appreciate that. But like the thing is that as a content creator, what happens and what I see a lot with our members and content creators in general is that they get they so tie in their self-esteem. I'm going to make an analogy to nutrition and to weight, right? They get so tied into their view counts and their follower counts, just like I believe that, somebody who's got potentially poor nutrition habits get tied into the number on that scale. Right.
Absolutely.
It defines their self-worth. So, you said earlier, in our conversation is that, people will look at that scale and they'll obsess over it every single day. Well, it's the same thing. Like content creators are looking at data and they're obsessing at it. They're obsessing over it every single day in terms of this, I put so much, effort into this video and it didn't get a lot of views. Just like, the last 3 days, I haven't eaten a damn thing and I haven't lost any weight. Like what the hell's going on? Yes. But it's the same mentality. And so I'm guessing that with the people that your patients and when it comes to weight management and nutrition in general, it's also a long-term thing. Like I've been on this kind of health journey for a while now. And recently I've been really altering my diet and I'm working with a coach and whatnot. And I don't see the numbers going down on the scale, but I also tell myself, I reflect on kind of my philosophies around content creation to say, it doesn't matter on a day-to-day basis what the scale says. None of that matters. This is me adopting something for a long period of time and then looking at this months or even potentially years down the road. It's the same thing with content creation, right? It's the same philosophy that you can't tie your personal like worth and your self-worth and what you feel about yourself based on your numbers. And I'm constantly...
That's the gift of being a content creator is you have to learn how to figure out what your values are, because you're putting it out publicly, your values, your thoughts, your ideas, and you're going to get criticized. And you have to be so secure in yourself that you can handle that criticism. And I think that's the growth that I've learned. You can
be insecure in yourself too. It doesn't matter. But you just have to keep going, even through insecurity. You're not going to, it's very difficult when you're putting yourself out there as a content creator, the way that you do and other creators do. Yeah, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get negative feedback, and you're going to look at even your own feedback. You're going to look at a piece of content and say, that was terrible.
I think that's for me. That's where I say the most.
I think the hardest part about that is that you won't even post it. Yeah. Right? Where that piece of content could have done amazing. I think more content dies in people's camera rolls, than anywhere else. But I want to get back to kind of talking about, your content creation. How have you found that has it changed your business in any way, or has it changed your life in any way? Like what are you experiencing right now as a creator?
So I still think I'm pretty new to the creator journey in general. So right now, like my goal is to get those reps in, like you said.
Yeah.
But I actually started doubling down. The reason I actually reinvested in myself to join Creator Method was I got a call from a major national brand and Healthline, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to be the face of our." A
national brand. Healthline is it's media.
They do media. Yes.
Yeah. No, I know Healthline. Okay. Yeah.
And they were like, "We want you to be the face of our new gut health channel."
Amazing.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try it out." And was on set, and it was a really long day, and I am never late to pick up my kids. My kids are I think that you can crush it at work, but then also as a parent, you need to crush it at home.
Yeah.
They were running late, and I was like, "Thank you so much. This was a lovely opportunity." And I only committed to one day, but sometimes these media companies work really, really fast. And they were like, "We loved you. Let's set up this contract. We want you to be doing our media." And I was like, "I don't know if I'm actually cut out for this." It's a very introverted experience, like you talking to yourself. I'm super extroverted. Like this is so much more fun to me.
Yeah.
And they were like, we see something in you, and we really want you to be doing this. And I was like, okay, if Healthline really wants me to build their channel, and they're saying that there's something that they think is really special, maybe I should double down and try to do this for myself too. And that was like the turning point. And that's when I joined Creator Method. And I still think that one of the biggest lessons that I came up with is that you're always like, put out the content and then double down on what over-index is.
Absolutely.
So you don't need to know exactly where you're going. I think that's like, as a perfectionist, I was born a perfectionist.
I know, but that perfectionism when it comes to content creation, that perfectionism is what will prevent you from growing.
It kills you, yeah.
Well, because with content creation, it's a little different. Like I've taken off the cuff videos of hanging out with Valeria or with the kids that have gotten such massive scale and that have grown my personal brand and Valeria's personal brand so tremendously. Where if I was a perfectionist about it, I would have seen that, oh, the camera was out of focus, or I was outside and there was like condensation on the lens. So like, let's scrap it. Where I was like, whatever, who cares, right? So I think you have to find a balance. I think a lot of this kind of amateur looking content that's imperfect, you should still use it, but you can save your perfectionism for like 20% of your content.
Okay.
Of that like really, polished and like in studio stuff that you guys want to do, like content creators in general. How long have you been creating content like regularly? How long have you been committed to actually doing it regularly?
In February, I was like, I really want to do this.
So it's been under a year. So we're in September now.
Oh, no,
so
I like thought about doing it really since May. Like I was like, when you like are like, okay, I want to do this, but then like as a CEO and a business owner, like my job is this is at this point it's not revenue generating. It's not where you can put all your attention.
You think it's not revenue generating? No, you think it's not revenue generating yet. I would argue that. I would argue that because when you say it's not, first of all, okay, a couple of things. I just want to back up. You started really in May, so that's 5-6 months, something like that.
I already like posting consistently. I've always been dabbling, but like you have to be consistent. Like that's where it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I would argue that it is actually directly revenue generating because when you have the issue is that you're not necessarily attributing it, right? Because there's no real way to attribute it. But if you were to look right now on your Instagram and you were to see like the trailing 30-day reach, like how many people have you reached? Is it hundreds of thousands?
100,000, yeah.
Okay. So when 100,000 people see you with the depth that they have, meaning 100,000 people have seen your content and they've seen, because it's short form content, they've likely seen the entire, they didn't just, like if you put out a 30-second clip, they likely didn't like see it for a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Yeah. There's actually depth to that interaction, to that exchange, right? So they actually consumed your content. So these are 100,000 potentially like fairly high touch point contacts. If you believe that none of those people converted, I just think you're mistaken. And I don't think they'll ever tell you.
No, we actually do have conversion, absolutely. But I think what I was trying to say as well is that like the direct sales, sometimes it can be easier. Maybe that's again what I'm used to, like I know how to, I love meeting with doctors and we get to build these supportive environments. And I definitely agree with you, but I think this is what the difference is. It's beyond yourself. It's bigger than what yourself, the reach is.
Of course.
I can't talk to 100,000 people like you said.
You can't, see, that's exactly right. But so there's a couple of things and I want to talk about kind of the benefits of what you've been doing since the beginning. And also, since May, since you've been doing it regularly, is that you are the fact that in the last 30 days, 100,000 people, 100,000 like accounts on Instagram saw your content and got the benefit. Like for me, when I was talking about earlier about that those non-scale wins, like that's changing my perception. So you've helped me. So now imagine
to me, that's amazing.
No, I know, but multiply it by 100,000.
Yeah.
And so I think that content creators, we don't see our impact. We don't see the positive effect that we have. We don't see those beautiful flywheels that we're creating where for me, that number's for me, my trailing number's in the millions for Valerius and it's in the hundreds of millions. And so when we're sitting in our living room and just like doing our thing, like normal everyday people, I'll sometimes look at her. I'm like, do you understand? Like you've affected hundreds of millions of people in the last 30 days alone.
That's wild.
Right? And it's wild. And so I think we really underestimate the impact that we're having outside of like our own personal gain from the business. But then on the business side, so that's the impact, for you as a creator. But then on the business side, yes, you are definitely booking people, especially in your business where you're not limited by borders. Like you live in Vermont, but then you have a thriving kind of business at scale that deals with telehealth because now with technology, you probably do it through, Zoom and whatnot.
Also, when you see someone's fridge and pantry, you learn so much about them.
Okay.
It does. Like if you're going to see what they're actually eating,
right?
Or someone's like really ashamed about their fridge.
Oh, this is the content that you create.
No, I'm just saying like when you're seeing someone via telehealth, you go into their home.
Right. They're showing you around.
Yeah, often if I need to, I'm like, hey, like what are we working with? I want to be making sure that this actually works. And if people have different limitations but yeah, if you can see how people even store their food, sometimes people if you put your food in tinfoil in the fridge, you're turning it into garbage rather than like good quality leftovers.
Okay.
The intimacy of being in someone's house.
Absolutely. So you're reaching these people, and then again, like for your business, that is creating a very positive effect on your business, as well as creating a positive effect for the people that you reach, whether they become clients or not. But then also, what you're going to find with scale, as you continue to scale and as you continue to build your personal brand in this realm, what you're going to find is the opportunities that are going to come up for you to benefit for you and your organization financially, which is obviously a benefit to all the people that you employ, but also the benefit to the people that you're going to affect, like your patients and your patients / customers. So, as you continue to scale, because I've seen that progress. I've seen Valeria start with, a couple of thousand followers in the 9 years ago to where she is now in the millions. And I've seen what it's done for her. I've seen like the change it's done, in our lives. And I'm not trying to like pitch content creation to you anyone else, but there's something that I want you to prepare yourself for. And I want to give you more motivation to continue scaling. There are experiences that we have on a regular basis. A lot of it ends up on social media. A lot of it doesn't, because we can't show it for privacy reasons for the people we're having these experiences with. You can't even buy this stuff. So this is such an enhancement to life overall, to be able to create content and get scale and all of the opportunities that come to you in terms of what you can experience in life. I mean, and in addition to like what your children see, the impact you have on them, like the example that you're giving to them. I'm just saying that in addition to the business benefit that you're experiencing with content creation, whether you attribute it or not, with scale, you're going to have access to experience for yourself, and you're going to have the ability to help people at such massive scale. It so enriches your life. And that's what I'm experiencing with Valeria.
That is very exciting.
Well, it is, because I want to point out that we are kind of just normal people from the suburbs of Toronto, that we really took advantage of this, and we put all of our effort into it. And the more effort we put into it, the more we got out of it. Where now it's like we live in Miami, we do all these cool things, we get to see the world, we get to do all of these things that we would never have been able to do, not only from a financial perspective, but from the access that we get by being, a source of media. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
No, it's true.
Tell me about your progress. I want to understand how you as a content creator have progressed. Like, what can you tell me? What's happened since May in terms of like, are you feeling more comfortable in front of the camera? Are you finding that your content has evolved? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
I think definitely I know what works and what I need to double down on. So focus has definitely changed. I know that like reaction content is something I'm doubling down on. I think that always does well. And
What's reaction content?
The one that you saw with the person putting on her jeans, or someone's like, you can't eat baby carrots. I've seen that a lot of like, baby carrots are bad for you because they have chlorine. Well, no, they clean the carrots and they use some chlorine and then they wash it out. So you're lucky that your baby carrots are cleaned.
Yeah.
But people are like, you can't eat carrots anymore. So like taking these like more viral, ridiculous nutrition things, oftentimes they are ridiculous. And then being able to show the facts. That's something like, that's what I think about, like the reaction content or the stitches.
I saw your stitches.
I think those are fun. Also, the more effort and the more production doesn't mean more value. And that I feel like oftentimes that's an equation of like, the more work, the prettier it is, the more it's going to convert. And like, I think that's what you're speaking to. I think that was a big learning opportunity for me, of being like, let's just be real. And people are like, I think that when you're scrolling on social media, like you're not watching a television show that you want it to be so curated.
Absolutely.
It's nice for it to be more real. And I think that's what my learning and growth is. How can I take my personality and turn it into like 7 seconds? Like, I think that's the tricky part of it, but also with experience and with reps, I'm hoping that it will become more natural.
It absolutely will. What blockers are you like? Are you experiencing any blockers in your content creation, and either like putting it out there, or things that you're not happy with in the data or in the results that you're getting? Like, are there any blockers that you would say things that you're unhappy with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me.
I also think if someone's like, I'm happy with everything I'm putting out there, like I have a real growth mentality that I think I'm always going to have difficulties. Sure. The first thing is sometimes I'll start my Tuesday mornings off and I'm like, okay, you have to block it in. Every single part of my day is scheduled, because I have a real full-time job. And like,
of course,
even our workouts, I want to put this out there. My workouts are scheduled. If they're not in your calendar, they do not exist.
My workouts are scheduled, for sure.
It's the only way to get it done. It's an appointment with yourself. So so I put that in my schedule. I do the planning in advance. And I previously had support. I think this is the thing. I previously had support. And when I came on a Creator Method and I was like, hey, I actually want to scale to 100,000 plus followers, they were like, I'm not sure we're your people. So I think that I'm such a collaborative person in all areas.
Sorry, who said that? This agency?
Yes, that I was working with. They're like, we like more local, more like we can't guarantee that. And I was like, I'm not asking for a guarantee, but I'm like, that's what my goal, my mission, vision, and values are. I'm like, if I'm going to be putting this effort in, I want it to grow. I want it to be able to have more reach. I want it to be able to help more people. So I think sometimes it's like who, not how. And I think right now, and I think that this is a huge privilege, my time is not best spent in editing content. One, I'm not great at it.
Well, you can get edits done for $50 a reel.
I'm not the best at it,
Yeah.
but I think it's for me right now, the biggest thing is I'm really strategic with my time. And it's because I find myself still a beginner, that it's still a time consuming task. And I just need to figure out how.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but you'll get better at that.
Okay.
So when you say it's a time consuming task, you'll get better at that. You will. You'll get faster at creating the content. You'll do it in less takes. It'll require less editing, and you'll just be able to like rattle them off really quickly.
Okay, that's great. 6 months from now, we'll come back and I'll be like, those are these
Absolutely.
old problems.
Absolutely. I have a couple of ideas for formats for you
Yeah.
that I think you may want to try. I think the simplest thing you can do, because I see that a lot of your like the stuff that you're making, it's not that it's scripted. It's just super, super intentional. I want you to do something, and I offer this advice quite often. I call it situational content awareness. That let's say you have a meeting with somebody, or let's say, do you still do your own consulting as well? Like, so you keep your finger on the pulse, right?
Totally.
Perfect.
Be in the arena.
Perfect. Absolutely. And so once you get off these calls, you may have come up with something, or you may have heard something that you want to comment on right away. And obviously, without giving the identity of your patients, you literally are just like, boom. And then you just, you'll find that those simple monologues where you're just like in the moment, you have a thought, it's like one take, maybe 2 or 3 takes, boom, 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 like no editing. And so when you're talking about, creating content efficiently, those hot takes in the moment, like when you think of something, or if you're in your car, you pull over, then you do that. Those are some of the best performing content that you'll have, because you're in the moment. It comes to your mind. You come up with a revelation, and you're passionate, especially you, because you're just you communicate in a passionate way. And to have that, and then to rip that piece of content very quickly, I think is something that you may not be paying enough attention to, and you're undervaluing that just in the moment, quick, and then literally just post it in the moment too.
I think I posted on stories, but not reels.
If you can make it so it's like an end to end, like a 30 or 45 second, just. I don't want to say a rant, but it's
a story is a new reel.
Yeah, well, sorry.
I said my stories are in my new reels.
Your stories are your new reels, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fine. That's easy.
But that's what I'm suggesting. Also, the other thing I want to suggest to you is that there are a lot of common kind of questions and elements when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to talking to people. The squirrel story is an outlier, but there are a lot of commonalities, right? So what my suggestion for you to do. And this is actually, I gave someone the suggestion on a one-on-one a couple of days ago. And then I'm like, why the hell am I not doing this? This is ridiculous.
Okay, what is it?
I literally went into ChatGPT and I said, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is my ChatGPT already know it. And it's like taking everything you know about me and then I started talking, and then I just rattled off. This was in like voice mode. I just did a voice note, and I started rattling off the top of my head things that are on top of mind for me of what creators struggle with. Mm-hmm. And it was like literally the prompt was like this. Like I had to scroll through the whole prompt, and I said, I want you to come up with anywhere from 80 to 200 sentences that I can use to start a 30 to 60 second clip about what content creators go through,
brilliant.
taking into account all of these common elements that I can think of. Anything else that you know about content creation that people struggle with that will add value, everything you know about my thesis and what I talk about content creation, like I extensively talk about biooptimization, like all of these things, and I really just like laid it all out, and I said, give me whatever it was, like 80 to 150 sentences that I can use to start a monologue, like a 30 to 60 second monologue. Give me those, and then it gave it to me. And I was like, oh my, and they were like, so many of them were just really on point. Like they were just like, cool. And then I just I saw the sentence, and now it's like I'm at home, and in the morning, and I'll have that list now, and I'll look at it, and I'll be like, oh. And then I'll just start with that sentence. And then I don't think, I'm specifically not asking ChatGPT. I'm just saying, give me the first sentence. I got the rest.
That's brilliant. But you also the king of prompts. Like I feel like you really crush prompts.
Well, it's just communication.
All of us how to do it. It's amazing.
I just communicate with a machine like I communicate with human beings.
Yeah.
Right? So my suggestion to you is to do what I just described.
I'll do that.
And have those 100 sentences, and it's going to take you a long time to get through those 100. And then when you see it, you look at it, and then I would take that sentence, and I wouldn't even do an edit. I would look at it and then just remember the sentence and then paraphrase it on the fly. And that's kind of your intro. That's the first sentence that you say to get people interested. Mm-hmm. And then you have enough knowledge that you can then just rant, for another 30 to 60 seconds. And I'm saying you can create 3 of those a day quite easily. You don't need any editing. You then take that, you know, because now you've got you've got ChatGPT that helped you with kind of the engineering of what the subject matter will be about, based on a combination of everything that you know about your subject matter plus everything that ChatGPT can find out about your subject matter. And now you're putting it out, and you can literally create 3 of these a day.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about like really niching down? Because I sometimes think about this, like right now, because I've invested a decade of like really being in the arena and knowing nutrition and becoming an expert at it. We actually have teams. We have pods on our team. We have a diabetes team. We've got a women's health team. We've got a GI health team. We've got a longevity team. Like we've got a sports nutrition team. Like we really have these like brilliant master, like truly next level clinicians that are on our team. And I'm so fortunate to work with all of them. And
how many of these pods are there?
Pods, I think we have like 7.
Okay. So different subject matter.
Yeah, but patients that we work with that we like crush, you know, like you want to be working with someone that's sports. We have motocross athletes that we work with. You know,
your question is to niche, to like talk about those specific.
So as a business, we see all of them all the time, right? For me, my passion, I'm obsessed with helping women through menopause, perimenopause, women's health, binge eating disorder, emotional eating. Like that's my thing. But as a company, we do so much more than that. Thoughts on like keeping, is the niche of nutrition too broad is the question?
I don't think the niche of nutrition is too broad, but what I would do is I would take, you've got access. So a couple of things. You've got access not only to your own knowledge, but you have this like extensive team with like more specific knowledge into the things that you talked about. Honestly, I would do a podcast. So in this format, I would do a podcast, and I would set it up in your clinic. I would have.
We're already doing a podcast. We're just launching that, so I'm excited.
Yeah,
yay.
Brilliant. I would be sitting down. The common denominator of the podcast is you are the host.
Okay.
So you are bringing in these different members of your team who are specializing in different, you know, kind of areas within kind of within the broader subject of nutrition. And then what I would do is sometimes when you have like patients, some of them are not going to want to be on camera, but if you think someone's interesting, why not invite them? You'll be surprised how many people will say, yeah, I would love to do a session with you. Cool. And the thing is when you launch that podcast, obviously the long form video goes to YouTube, the audio goes to iTunes and Spotify, and then you cut it up into smaller bite-sized pieces for reels. So that's such an infinite amount of content that you could put out, and that's probably the most efficient use of your time when it comes to content creation.
And that's so fun.
That's 60 to 90 minute session like the one we're having right now. This will create so much content for us, and there's so much utility from that content, and it's the same thing for you. So that's what I would do. There's one other format that I want to suggest to you. Have you heard of a company called Amalfi Jets?
No.
Probably not.
No.
So
I feel like this is like in your motorcycle.
No.
You know what I mean? Like in that niche that you.
No, not at all. Not at all. So Amalfi Jets is a company that does, they charter jets, and they've gotten massive scale on TikTok and Instagram. And what they do is they do these like kind of mock phone calls where the owner of Amalfi Jets, he's sitting at his desk, the camera's on, and he answers the call, and then you can hear the other side. Now, the thing is, they're not real calls. They're clearly staged. There's like somebody from his team calling him, and they're calling with like, I need a jet and I need a book from here to here, but I want like brownies on the jet, or I want like some weird, and so it's these like odd exchanges that are clearly manufactured. So my suggestion to you is, I know that when speaking with Valeria, when she did actually a couple of consultations when she got her diploma in nutrition, and she didn't like them, and she would come back and without telling me real details because it was private, she'd say like some of these things are just crazy, like the demands, the conversations. So what I'm suggesting is that in the conversations that you have, you might get ideas like with the squirrel guy, right? And so you may want to, and it'll be more of like satirical, because I'm not suggesting that you film it in a way that you're trying to convince people that it's real. Like it's clearly a satire.
Okay.
But it's like you at your desk, maybe with your lab coat on, if you wear a lab coat, I don't know. No, okay. But you at your desk and you answering a call, and you can hear both your audio and the call's audio, and somebody's, calling you, and maybe a little more serious where they're like, listen, I've been dieting for 10 days and I cut out potatoes and bread and I'm still not losing weight. Like, what's going on? And then your response. So it becomes interactive, it becomes contextual, where as opposed to only a monologue, which I've suggested that you do, and you keep doing the formats you're doing now. But in addition to that, it's you're letting people in on the conversations, the actual conversations where they're not real people. So when you're in a session and you hear somebody with like asking a specific question about how, sugar, plays a role in their diet, or if they're over consuming protein, or, when you talked about the fact that just because something says it's got high protein and somebody's saying, listen, I've been eating these high protein cookies. And then you saying, yeah, but did you look at the label? It's also got like 40 grams of sugar in it. Yeah. It's a farce that because people say it's like the CPG brands are saying there's a high amount of protein. It doesn't mean it's actually
all marketing. It's like,
correct.
Yeah.
So I saw that reel that you made and I was like, but imagine instead of you doing it as a monologue where you're explaining it the way you did, you kind of flip it a little where it's like you're getting a call and someone's calling you, and you're just creating a different kind of scenario and context where you're getting a call and someone is saying to you, and the camera's on you. There's no other person in the shot. Okay. It's just you taking the call and them saying, look, I've been eating these high protein cookies and they're high protein, and you told me I need a lot of protein, but I'm still gaining weight. And you say, take a look at that label. That gives it a real life scenario. And just, I would suggest trying to do this because this.
I can do that. I also get like a lot of screenshots. I don't know what thoughts about this. This is my brain's going. Also, my client yesterday literally texted me. It's like, is this garbage? Like a content creator asked me, this is garbage. So pretending that she's calling me versus like. I
would take that as an idea and like just have somebody at your team who can. They don't even have to sound that convincing. Well, they can just call you and you can have that conversation. Like you're picking up the phone and they're like, yeah, I just want to ask you, like, and you start showing that because that's great context because. That actually shows the type of service that you offer where you're on calls, you're answering questions. So I suggest trying something like that too.
Thank you. It's brilliant.
And it doesn't take a lot of time, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to feel more natural than you talking to the camera because you're not even looking at the camera when you're having the conversation, right? You could be on the phone in front of your computer screen. The camera can be on the side and you're just talking, and you're talking to somebody like you're naturally having a conversation with them. So those are kind of the formats that I suggest. So I suggest that kind of that style where you're like, it's like a fake phone call. Mm-hmm. And also these quick ones and to continue doing with it what you're doing.
I love that.
Do you have any other questions for me? Like,
what if I ask a big question?
Sure.
Okay. We talked about this before in the confusingness. And I think all professionals, anyone that's like a medical professional will get it. So like the idea of like your name, I have a professional name, then I have a personal name. Like professionally, I go by Val Goldberg, but like I go by my family name, which is Librati as well. So you think that content creators should be building their content with their name as close to possible as your name.
Yeah.
The idea for me and I can figure out what my name is professionally. I can do that. I can do hard things. But the idea of like, I do not have the bandwidth right now to be managing 2 different social media accounts. Do you think that a personal brand trumps like benefit of just building personal brand versus like I am the face of No Diet Dietitian? Even though I said there are brand deals that like that we have a lot of relationships with incredible companies. I think you're asking me. So I know that your username right now is No Diet Dietitian, right? So I think it should be your name. And just let go of the company not having an Instagram.
No. I think the company should have its own Instagram. Okay. But I think if you only have bandwidth for one. You have to have your personal brand. It should be your name. Okay. That's what I believe it should be. It should be your name because you're far more likely to scale a personal brand than a business brand. Okay. And then if I was doing this, if I was going to be subdividing it, would you recommend starting from scratch? The way I would do it is I would take your current Instagram and I would have it as your personal name. Okay. Then I would create a clinic Instagram that looks like a clinic Instagram where one looks like a personal brand, one looks like a business. And the example I can give you is Valeria Lipovetsky's personal brand
versus Creator Method.
Gary Lipovetsky's personal brand, Creator Method. We have 3 different accounts, right? And then we even actually have a separate one for her podcast, which is Not Alone. So that's what I suggest doing. And then strategically, you have a content plan for the business. You have yours, and then you're strategically tagging as collaborator and accepting the tags. And the blueprint for that is between my Instagram, my personal Instagram, and the Creator Method Instagram. Okay, cool. Okay. That's very helpful. Val, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. I'm going to see you in Vermont when I come with my motorcycle and I come visit you guys, but I will definitely see you at the next Creator Method event. Thank you.
Thank you so much.